Hello, guys. Welcome to the process. Welcome to the show. Alessandra, how are you?
I'm doing great. How's everybody else?
I'm good.
Doing well.
Guys, I'm so excited today. So we have personal trainer with us, Kj Kelsch. And KJ and I worked together when I lived in Oakland. But KJ is amazing. So she is a performance and embodiment coach. She's also a nationally certified personal trainer, as well as she's currently working on an applied neurology certification as well. So you know how we love continuing education here at the process. So we were very excited to hear it. She's going to be talking to us about exercise, rest, and recovery because, as you guys know, we want to make sure that your bodies are protected. So we're going to talk about how to do it the right way, not just running the stairs.
Hell yeah. I also want to, I do use they, them pronouns, so I just want to remind you of that.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really honored and just so tickled to be here. You both are making all of my podcast dreams come true. Like I've always wanted to be like an expert on a podcast. So like, thank you.
Yes. So, guys, this is what you all been waiting for. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Welcome back to the show, Alessandra.
All right, guys. So we are going to be asking KJ some questions today. They are going to be leading us also in some stretches towards the middle of the show. So you're not going to want to miss this. So definitely make sure you stay tuned. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe right now. We would truly appreciate it. All right. So KJ, I'm going to act like I don't know you.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? How did you become a personal trainer? And also I want to hear more about your certification that you're pursuing right now with neurology.
Yeah. So what a question. I think that I've always kind of been striving for embodiment for myself to feel at home in my body, because I didn't feel that for a long time when I was growing up. I was never athletic as a kid, but when I was 21, I realized I had become really unhealthy, and I was dissociated all the time, and I just didn't want to be in this vessel. And so I started with my relationship with food, and got real nerdy about nutrition, and I reversed all of those conditions like prediabetes and hypertension. And so so thankful, I'm so privileged to not have to deal with that because of those decisions that I made. But I think the real story is...
Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you. I mean, I think it seems like, this is a decade in the making, and I think the real story, though, or a sleeper story, I guess I feel like I'm kind of like in a 10-part book series, but in like the 5th book.
Yes.
The rest of it hasn't been written yet.
It's like the encyclopedia of KJ.
Exactly. So I really knew that I needed to change my relationship with movement. I suffer from dyspraxia. It's better now, but dyspraxia is like dyslexia for movement. And so, I was always really uncoordinated, really not very graceful or intentional about my movement. And so, I found a place where I could really work on myself without feeling judged for not being there already. And so I decided to become a coach to help people achieve their own version of embodiment, to give people back their own bodies, because I think that's what, all of the oppressive systems that we deal with take from us. So I think really it's about holding space for folks and making them feel safe enough to meet those goals and to if you think about the word gym, it comes from the Greek meaning a place to be naked, right? And so we're not naked when we work out anymore, but if you take that and read it as vulnerability, like we really are at our most vulnerable, I think, when we're coming up against something that's hard for us.
Absolutely.
And so I really think that being a coach is about holding space and about meeting people where they are and giving people that chance to discover what they can do, because everybody deserves that.
100%. I mean, we talk about coaching and mentoring here often, but I think what you're talking about is a little more special in the sense that you're coaching and mentoring someone on how to love their body and how to see it as a functional tool for them and not something that's oppressive or restrictive or a punishment. So that was, I mean, even for us planning this show, we didn't want to have a show about holiday pounds or avoiding cake or anything like that.
Definitely.
It's we don't want to encourage that mindset. We want the staff and the folks that are listening to make sure that they take care of their bodies because their bodies are precious.
100%. Yes. And I think that that it's so empowering, like, to know, I mean, whatever movement you like to do, like, I like lifting heavy things off the floor, right? I like knowing that I can lift 225 pounds with my abs. Like, that's like just a good thing, is to like know your boundaries, know how to push them, but then also when to listen to your body. I think that's really the most important thing.
Totally. So how does the because I know we're on the volume 12 now, so volume 13 is a certified neurology specialist, applied neurology, I'm sorry. How does that tie into what you're doing now?
Well, so it really is a brain first approach to strength training. So it's everything we are lives in our brains. It is, so if your brain has to be in on it in order for that to succeed. And, there's so much that goes into movement, even the things that are simple, like your brain is working really hard to do that. Right. But most people focus on the output, right? Like how strong you are, how much you can lift, how much, like what muscles are activated. But in reality, that's just 1/3 of the whole central nervous system process. What would happen if you changed the input? What would happen if you changed the way that you perceived a stimulus, right? Because so you change the input, you change the processing, you change the output. And so it really focuses on those parts of the chain, though, that the input and the processing, rather than just pure biomechanical output.
Awesome.
So KJ, question, what would you say to those persons who think as soon as they pick up a weight, they're going to be buff, they're going to look like a man, and it's just going to go downhill from there? They're going to be, made fun of. So what do you tell those people that have that mindset? Like, I'm not going to lift weights because I'm going to end up, looking like a dude. Or some dudes that do that also, like, hey, I'm not going to lift weights because I don't want too much.
Like
Right, exactly. What advice do you have for people that have that mindset?
Yeah, I think strength training is for everybody. Everybody has the right to develop their bodies and their musculature and their joint mobility the way that they want. And strength training, and weightlifting in particular, really helps with lots of other things. Like it helps with things like focus. It helps with things like, and it helps stabilize your joints. It helps. So it's not just about putting on like pounds of muscle. Like really that happens in the kitchen. Like if you really want to bulk and gain muscle, like you need to also be eating a lot, right? And if you're not doing that and you're going to gain lean muscle mass, which is different than bulk. And everybody can benefit from weightlifting. It's also one of the safest things that you can do, provided that you have the proper form.
Absolutely. Well, we hear it all the time over there on Knowledge Nonsense. Hold your form.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I
Thank you
think
for
that's
that.
a really important question to ask because so much of what we do is very physical.
Yes.
We lift trays all day, and it's important for the folks on the floor to understand you do need to train outside of SPD. Like lifting the trays during work isn't the same as training your body.
100%. And if anything, I would recommend working with somebody who really knows what they're doing in terms of form, because you are developing that pattern. And so if you learn a way of lifting a tray, say, that isn't efficient or is going to eventually lead to injury, then that repetitive motion will be detrimental at some point. But if you train for it, if you know how to brace your core, if you know how to let your shoulder blades live in their back pocket while you're lifting a thing, then you're less likely to get injured in the long run.
And we all know how important it is to make sure we avoid those injuries. We do not want to be out of work.
100%.
Awesome.
So I have a question. I have a question, and thank you for that response. What's the main injury concern you've encountered through persons just doing normal work in their field?
Are there common injuries?
Common injuries? I mean, there are so many, but I'd say lower back and shoulder injuries. But I also see a lot of strained hamstrings, rolled ankles. But it's mainly I think shoulder and low back, which I think makes a lot of sense.
True.
For people who are pushing and pulling all day.
Awesome. So that's actually what I was going to ask next. If we are, because we do a lot, we do push carts, we pull them, we pick up trays, we're up and down. I've had staff members that walk upwards to 10,000 steps a day. So is there anything in addition to strength training that you would offer for them to add to their routines?
Outside of work or inside of work?
Both, actually.
Okay. So actually, people who are pushing, pulling, walking 10,000 steps a day, the best thing you can do is rest. If you are, and then dedicate maybe 2 or 3 days a week to strength training outside so that you can
define rest for us. When you say rest, what do you mean? Is rest me laying in my bed watching Netflix, eating Oreo cookies? Like, what's rest?
Well, it depends on the kind of person you are and what rest means to you. So rest can look a lot of different ways. Like, I have a whole thing on sleep. Sleep and rest are the same. It's under the same umbrella, but sleep is a whole different thing. Rest, I like to think of it in terms of what recharges you. So what invigorates you.
In my coloring book in a quiet time could be considered rest.
100%. It could be meditation. It could be going outside and getting fresh air. It could be making sure that you get into nature once a week. It could be, you want to find ways, I think, it could be, having a silent disco by yourself in the break room. Like, there are lots of different things that you can do. It just depends. Like, do you want that time for stillness, or do you want that time for a more active kind of recharge that's going to kind of pull your mind back into what's really important, which is like not always your job. It's you, right? So anything that can take your mind off of the things that stress you out, I think.
Man, that's cool, because I think there's a lot of things that we do during the day that are rest, and we may not even be, and I guess like what you were saying with your neurology, it's not even inputting in that I'm resting myself. So I'm curious, D, what do you do for rest during the day?
So before I answer that, let me ask a clarifying question to KJ. So rest is more mental than physical, or is there a separation between the two?
No, I think that they're two related things. I think there's physical rest, which is also necessary, especially if you have a physical job. So like, if you're one of those people who are pushing carts and pulling trays and, you know, carrying patients everywhere, then you should not be working out on your breaks. You should be making sure that you eat and like go outside or do something else. Save your workouts for some time outside of work.
All right. So y'all heard it here first. So for y'all that's running the stairs on your 15s and your 30, KJ said probably not a good idea.
Well, I would let me qualify that. So I think that there's a series of questions that you should ask yourself, because you don't want to put yourself at risk for injury. And the more stress that you have, the more likely that you are to get injured. And so the first question that you need to ask yourself is, have I slept? Have I rested enough? If the answer is no, don't work out, because when you're tired, you're not as focused, and when your brain's not in it, your body really isn't in it either, and you can't. And it's better to save it for another time.
Right, save it when you're more focused.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you don't want to be lifting 200-pound weights and you're thinking you're about to doze off, right?
Exactly. No, I would say like just go to sleep. Like take a nap, like now, yesterday.
So let me answer that question now. So what I do for rest? That's kind of tricky. I don't even think about that.
You gotta think about it.
I guess I sleep sometimes. That's about it.
I used to go to the meditation room on my breaks and just sit in there. I wasn't necessarily even meditating, but it was one of the spaces in the hospital that was always empty and quiet. So it just allowed me to just be in there and have a couple minutes and then step back out. And I think, like you said, like being able to just reset into what's important. Because when you're getting all those calls and all those questions and all the knocks on the door, it can become just like a one after the other. And you don't even realize that your mind is still running like this, even though there's nothing happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Because thought is movement too.
Yes.
Right. So, so you can wear yourself out just with that.
Hold on. Can you say that again? Can you say that one more time?
Thought is movement.
I just had to get that one in. That's important. I was thinking that, but I don't want to say it because it seemed a little conflicting with actual movement. So I'm like, is your mind?
I hope techs are soaking that in. Like, if you're doing these mental gymnastics all day long and you get home and you're tired and you're like, I didn't really do much. Maybe you were at the front desk today and you weren't in decontam. You're like, I didn't do much. Yes, you did. Thinking requires energy.
And that's just at work. That's not everything else that you deal with, like just people on the street. Holidays are coming up. Like, there's, we're living in a global pandemic still. Like, there's a lot of stress that we deal with. And often when, I like to call this like your threat bucket, right? So when your threat bucket gets full, right, and your brain is like, oh my God, I can't take anymore, then the output of that is typically pain, or it can be pain. And so you want to keep yourself out of pain because you don't want to, injure yourself, obviously. Right. So yeah, finding ways really to de-stress, even within that stressful environment, is really crucial.
Very critical. I appreciate all of the nuance because it's a lot to think about, especially if it's not something that's on your mind often.
Yeah. And like, I know that it's some people's minds are always running. And so like, what for you does quiet look like? It might not look the same for everybody. It might look like, again, having, your headphones on and blasting loud music.
Yes.
It might, or listening to a podcast, or, so like whatever that looks like for you, that's okay.
All right. So one of the things that I notice a lot is I have some employees that for whatever reasons, they do not take their breaks. Sometimes because of the workload, but sometimes they don't feel like they need it or that it slows them down. So what would you say to them about why this is so essential to go ahead and take your break times?
Oh my God, I have so much to say about this. Um, so first of all, you're entitled to that time, and whatever time that you can take for you, you should do it, because all of us work within, an exploitative system that is going to take every inch that they can from you, and so making sure, so reclaiming that and reclaiming your time is one way to actually help develop that practice. So even if you don't feel like there's anything that you can do on your break or that it won't help you, I would suggest reframing that for yourself, and thinking about, okay, well, if I had 15 minutes to myself, what should I do? And maybe that's like going outside. Maybe it's not slowing down, but I think, again, you're taking a break from your work, right? And so that break is essential. And even if it doesn't look that way, like, I would suggest, making sure that you at least think about it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't, but just developing the practice of taking time out for yourself, especially if you sit at a desk all day, and you're like hunched in front of your computer, your traps are becoming earrings, and you're like this, right? Like, you need to get up and move.
And I don't know if there are managers or supervisors out there that can relate, but sometimes when I have a lot of admin work that I have to do, I feel guilty about taking my break, because the simple act of the admin work means that I have to sit at my desk while my staff are standing and moving and pushing and pulling. So sometimes I really do have to push myself to take, like, okay, step out of this space and go take a break, or turn the computer screen off and take a break, because like you said earlier, you are physically working. It's a mental, it's a lot of thought and whatnot, but it is a physical work for my body.
Exactly.
I appreciate you saying that, because a lot of people won't admit that, and a lot of people will duck and hide in the office and not feel any type of way about not doing that actual physical activity on a day-to-day basis. So, Kj.
But like, even if you're sitting at a computer, if you're sitting at a desk, like, you're holding this position, your body always adapts to what you do most. So this is a position that a lot of people get stuck in, right? And then you hold everything, your tension like that, all of a sudden you feel lower back pain, you feel pain in your hips, pain in your knees, and the remedy for that is movement, often. And so I think that, in my practice, I approach everyone as an athlete. So you can be an office athlete, 100%. And so you are what you do most of the time. And so if what you're doing you're still doing something. Like, your body is there. It's engaged in whatever it is. And so it might be less physical, but it's no less work.
It might be less physical, but no less work. And I also want to reiterate something you said at the beginning about the breaks, that you're entitled to it. It's your break. Legally, you guys are entitled
100%.
to it. And also, make no bones, payroll backs that out. So unless I don't advocate working for free ever.
Ever. Get that money.
Okay. So go ahead and take those breaks.
Definitely, guys. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Make sure you take your breaks. Also, how do you feel about those persons who have the break but they still go do the course around the hospital? Or some people aren't. Technically, you shouldn't be in the gym with your scrubs on, but some people actually go to the gym, pump some weights, or go to the basketball court, because I've done it before. Play a little ball for 15, 20 minutes and then come back to work. So what do you think? Is that a good practice in between actual work, or should you take that to rest mentally and physically?
I think it depends on who you are and what you need. So I think if movement, if like really intense weightlifting or playing basketball or something that really like takes your focus away from work and into that, and it's something that will de-stress you at the end of the day, then I think that's fine. Mm-hmm. But if you are a person who is a beginner to movement, or if you're a person who, I don't think it's a bad practice at all. I just think it depends on what your goals are. So like maybe you're prepping for a bodybuilding show and you want to get your, 20 minutes of cardio in, but maybe you're also you're also a beginner who's just starting, who hasn't ever worked out before. Then that might not be the best course of action for you. Maybe the best thing to do is go for a walk if you want to move. So
I think that is so important to say, like, because there are different starting points. So if I have not been in the gym, I have not been working out, I should not just go 0 to 60.
No. I mean, if you want to switch it up, there are ways to do that. But like one of the things to keep in mind is your form. And if you don't know what you're doing, then you're more at risk for injury. And you don't want to get injured at work while you're supposed to be resting or while you're supposed to be taking a break. Absolutely. So just like, what's the payoff for you versus like, and if it stresses you out in any way to like get a workout in, if you're just like, oh my God, I have to get this workout, like you're already stressed out. Like breathe, meditate, go sit somewhere, go for a walk, go outside. There are lots of different things to do.
Awesome.
So guys, thank you for that. So guys, we'll go into a short break. Before we go into the break, remember, please like and subscribe to the channel. You can check us out, our podcast on Anchor. We have our own website. We also stream live on LinkedIn and Spotify. We are also on Spotify. So check us out. Hit so you can't miss us. So hit that like button on our YouTube page, Sterile MD, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you could be notified of any new episodes we have. We're going to come back. We're going to answer Angie's question, and we're going to respond to her comments, and we'll be right back in a few seconds. And we're going to do a couple stretches. So guys, push your chairs and your tables aside.
Stand up, y'all.
Stand up. We're going to do a couple stretches when we come right back.
All right, y'all, this is like my favorite segment so far. This is like what I do on a day-to-day basis, is coach people to make their movement better. So are you ready?
He can't hear us.
No.
All right. So guys, we're going to go through a few stretches, and I think what I want you guys to take away from this, if you're not already standing up and doing this with Dee, is that these can be done anywhere. So we encourage you to take the time to do these at work. If you're in the break room, in the dressing room, on the floor, you can do these wherever you are.
100%. And others, they're great to do before you start work. They're great to do before you go to bed, anytime that you feel like you need it. I also want to think about stretching more like mobilizing. I want to think because static stretching.
Thank you for changing that vocab for me.
Yeah, of course. Because when we think about stretching, we think about holding a position and like our muscles stretch and relax. But that's usually you might feel temporarily better or temporarily warmed up. But really, if you're getting ready to move, you should be moving. And what you want to do is focus on moving the joints and not necessarily the muscles, because the joints are what gives your brain the information that it needs. It's what innervates the muscles to move. And so the remedy for tightness and soreness is often movement. And so I want to kind of reframe stretching towards more of an active, something active that you can do that's going to help you move better and feel better.
That's so important because sometimes when we're in pain, it's our mental thought, is to be still and lay down or not move it. So I think that's important that you said that it's to be mobile.
100%. So, Dia, you ready?
Let's go.
All right. So our first mobility drill is called Vanna White openers. So I would like you to take one knee, kneel down, and then on the side that you're kneeling on, I want you to stick that arm straight up in the air. Yep. Lock out that elbow. And then on your other arm, I want you to stick that straight out in front of you. Palm up, please. Turn your hand over.
Might not be able to hear that. Flip your hand over facing up.
Palm facing up. Palm facing towards the ceiling. Okay.
No.
That's okay. 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 Now, while you keep a nice tall spine and pull your belt buckle up towards your belly button, go ahead and twist towards your front knee.
All right.
Yep. Tall spine. Good. Yeah, we're going to go 5 times.
Now, I noticed from my personal trainer, he's moving a little fast. Is that okay?
It depends. So go ahead and switch sides when you're ready. So because this is there are different reasons to do things at different speeds. So, in a world of you should be able to move every joint at any speed, at any direction, at will, right? But that's like most of us don't have that.
Yes.
We've learned a lot of bad patterns, right? So, have we done the other side yet? Have we switched sides?
I was waiting for your cue.
Okay, arm up in the air, lock that elbow out, other arm straight out.
And turn that hand over. Nice.
Good. Keep that zip nice and tight. Keep your abs on.
Engaged.
Yes. It makes a huge difference. All right.
I'm sorry to our audio listeners, they can't see what's going on, but we'll definitely check out our YouTube videos and our Facebook channel. You'll actually see the workouts.
Yes.
Follow along and try it out for yourself.
Cool.
All right. What we got next?
All right. Well, first of all, how do you feel after that?
I feel stretched in my shoulder area and in my waist.
Awesome. Okay. Next up, we're going to do a middle toe pull. So what I want you to do is stand up tall. I'm going to show you this because it's a little hard to describe with words, but I want you to put your one foot behind you so that you are resting on the top part of your foot, right? You should feel a stretch like right here. It's called your intermediate cuneiform. So then from here, keep your spine nice and tall. And give me 5 2-inch squats.
Woo. Dip, baby, dip.
Cool.
Dip, baby, dip.
Yep. Keep your spine nice and tall, and tuck your tail in a little bit.
Say it again. I'm going with the other foot now.
Yes. Okay. So while you're doing that, I want you to tuck your tail in. So again, you want to pull your belly button up, or your belt buckle up towards your belly button. There we go. Yeah. You've got a string coming out of the top of your head, connecting you to the ceiling, and you're looking straight forward.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah. Good.
Awesome.
All right.
All right. How did that feel for you?
Feel good. Feel like my foot stretched out. I feel good. I feel like it rotate my ankle area a little bit better. I have a little more flexibility. It feels good.
Okay, which is
Y'all,
awesome for all those steps we take.
we balance on our feet all day. Like when every step you take generates more than your body weight's worth of force. So and if you jog or if you run, that's even more so, or sprint,
even more force.
So. Yeah. And last but not least, we're going to do some hip circles. So I want your big toes to face each other. And first I want you to shift from side to side. I want you to feel your femur knocking around in your hip socket. Right? And then when you're ready, we're going to go in circles. So you're going to make a circle with your pelvis. Nice and big. Yeah. When we're allowed to go back to the club, this is what I'm going to be doing. Big SpongeBob circles.
Yes.
We're going to go 5 in each direction.
This is one of my favorite mobility exercises.
Yeah. And you can do hip circles in lots of different positions depending on what your needs are. So feel free to ask me questions about that. All right. How do you feel?
I feel good. I feel a little looser in my back area.
Good.
Good. It's good.
Y'all, we didn't even get into spinal mobility, but that's a really good
it's good.
add-on.
Let's go back to the other side.
All right.
One thing that I will mention as kind of a general tip is whenever you can take your shoes off, do it. Because often, have a good pair of shoes, but most comfortable shoes, unless you're walking in barefoot shoes, which I highly recommend, they have like a little, they impact your gait. And so everything else up that chain is going to be a little bit tight because of that. So taking off your shoes and letting your toes spread out, stretching out your feet, I think is a good practice to get into just whenever you get the opportunity.
I'm really glad that you said this because especially within the healthcare field, we have a tendency to wear some kind of wonky shoes. Just in a like I've seen them where they have these really high platforms and the messaging was that they were going to tone your calves or whatnot, so people would wear them while they were walking. And then we also, a lot of folks wear like the clogs or those kind of like slip on. Are those good for your feet, or should they really be looking at like a more sturdy, like a tennis shoe? Or
well, it depends on you and your feet. But I don't recommend something with like a really high, like lots of padding, because then so you want something with like a wider toe box. So something that allows your toes to spread out more naturally. And something that isn't just going to be tight on your foot, because, when we walk, our feet are meant to kind of, toes are meant to kind of spread out. So the more natural you can find, like, I really like barefoot shoes for that reason, because like even my non-barefoot shoes, for example, like even these are pretty minimalist, but you can see they have like a drop, right? And so that's like a heel. And so you're not actually getting accurate feedback from your feet to your brain. And so barefoot shoes can be hard on folks, especially if you already have existing foot problems, but those you can also do, get into physical therapy for that. You can find a trainer who works with feet. Like I had one of my coworkers did a foot session today. So like if that's something, if you deal with a lot of foot pain because of your shoes or because of existing conditions, I would highly recommend seeking out a trainer who knows what they're doing with that.
I will 100% co-sign that. I have Achilles tendonitis and plantar fasciitis in one of my feet, and I always just assumed that the pain was just the pain. And that's another reason why I'm so glad that we're doing this episode, because sometimes we pride ourselves in being able to power through things, or we think that it's normal for our bodies to feel pain because of the workload that we have. But that really is something that we should attend to and rectify with a professional.
Right, because pain, remember, lives in your brain. So it's what your brain is perceiving. to, and pain is meant to be like a behavior modifying.
Alert you, like do something about this.
Right, immediately, instantly. And so if you keep doing it, then you can develop you can develop a thing where you only respond to pain, and we don't want that either.
Yeah,
because then you have to relearn things like proprioception.
So
talk
possible,
to your
but difficult.
personal trainer, talk to your podiatrist, talk whoever you need to talk to. Okay,
Exactly.
But don't just suffer through it.
Definitely. And someone who needs help. Okay, let's say you have your regular doctor's visits and you're fine. Like, how do you know what workouts to do to work on the areas you need? How would one know that?
Well, there are really only 7 or 8 core movements that, in terms of functional human movement. And I'll list them off because I'm a nerd. So we've got squat, deadlift, lunge, push, pull. Some people add press in there, like an overhead press. And then rotation and anti-rotation, which is core stuff. So I would pick 4 exercises, maybe 5, and target those things that either you do the most often. So if you do a lot of pushing, you might want to do a lot of strength training with a push, but you also need a pull because you want to develop all of those all of that mobility and that musculature evenly. So you want to think about the things that you do most often and the things that you don't do enough. So like, for example, if you're sitting in an office all day and you're like this, right? Best thing that you can do, I think, is single leg deadlifts, which you don't need any equipment for. And it strengthens your hamstrings and which a lot of folks who do a lot of sitting have. So, think about.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you mind to show us?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. So KJ is going to show us a single leg deadlift.
Okay. So, you can have some support in doing this. So you can hold on to a wall or a doorway or whatever makes sense for you. Right. Again, you want that nice tall spine, brace your core. And then what you're going to do is bend at your waist and kick your back foot out. Right? Like so. You can even add a little twist in there. Right? Don't lock out your knee that you're balancing on.
Very important. Don't lock your knee out.
Well, sometimes you do need to lock your knee out, but not for that particular.
Not for that.
Yeah.
I'm so scared when I see people.
Because I was always confused. Every workout I do, they say just straighten your back leg or straighten this leg or that leg, and I'm like, if I straighten it, it might hurt me. So that's good advice. You don't have to straighten it all the way for the stretch, right?
No. And if it hurts, never move into pain. I mean, like there's like a workout burn, and some people refer to that as pain, but that's different than if you feel something sharp or tearing or searing or bad pain, right? So if it hurts, don't do it.
Awesome. So speaking of things hurting, we had a question come up from one of our listeners. Hello, Miss Angie. And Angie said that she returned to work 8 weeks early after a knee arthroscopy. And now the knee weakness and swelling and pain is more due to all of the running around. She said that she wears a brace every day, and she's wondering if you have any advice as to what she could do differently.
Okay. So I think that it sounds like you probably need to find a professional, either a trainer or a physical therapist, who can look at your knee and make sure that like your rehab is complete. But if not, then I think having somebody look at the way you walk can impact your knee pain. Doing those mobility drills that I showed you might help with your knee pain. So And also strength training. I think that if you find a trainer who you like and who you trust, then you can make a lot of gains in that area very shortly. So I think that this is a process one. So it's not. I don't know if there is an immediate fix, but making sure that you stretch your feet out, make sure you've got your ankle mobility is going to be really important. Maybe you want somebody to look at that. Have somebody watch you walk. Right? There are lots of gait trainers out there, which is so that you can tailor your own movement needs to what kind of pain you're experiencing. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And it's, I think also one thing that stood out to me that you said about the PT maybe not being done. I think it's something that we see often in the healthcare field. Again, we just want to get back to work. And so we see people that will come off of their leaves early and just jump back in the game. And what I would like to just kind of caution folks with is you don't want to re-injure yourself, because that can often be worse than the original injury. So take the time to heal properly. That's your time.
And not just that, but like it's not just about like the doing the rehab, 8 or 12 weeks or whatever, and then you're done. No, then you have to go relearn how to move that joint or how to move whatever was injured. So in my practice, we find that a lot of PT is incomplete because of that, and people will re-injure themselves or come back worse because they didn't complete that process. Yeah. Even if they were approved. So like that, I think getting back into movement, like that you can do, that feels good for you, that strengthens and stabilizes and all of that is the best thing you can do after an injury.
Thank you.
A question from Veronica. Do you think that compression socks are good to wear? And I let me not say anything. You're the expert.
I think it depends on you. I think that some people need to wear compression socks and some people don't. And so I would listen to the advice of your trainer or your healthcare professional about what you should be doing. But I think they're neutral. But
does it matter at all how long we're wearing them? Typically our shifts are anywhere between 8-12 hours, and then sometimes people are pulling doubles, doing 16. So like if I'm wearing compression socks, do I need to be concerned at all about how long I have them on?
Well, yes. You probably shouldn't be wearing them for like extremely long periods of time, like not the whole 8-hour shift. Okay. Because again, what do compression socks do? They compress. Right. And that's good for a lot of things, like, people who have lots of swelling in their legs because of various conditions, or whatever, or maybe it's just more comfortable for you to feel swaddled in that area, like it's fine. Yeah. But you want to find that balance that works. But I wouldn't wear them for 12 hours straight, for sure.
Another question pertaining to compression socks. How long should your compression socks be? Ankle high, thigh high, knee high?
Full body compression.
This is full body like suit.
Yeah, compression socks.
I mean, like that's. I mean,
but seriously though, I mean, because you have like the waist trainers now that people are wearing under their clothes
all day long.
Sometimes people are wearing like their Under Armour, like with their compression stuff for their like basketball. Like, so we do get a little intense sometimes.
I mean, I think that if it's whatever makes you feel the most comfortable, or whatever your trainer or healthcare professional tells you is best for you. So I don't think that there's never a one size fits all with wellness or with health or with fitness. And it's all about finding what works for you.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So I know that we talked a little bit about food in the beginning of, just kind of maintaining a healthy relationship with it. But if I do typically work 8 to 12 hours a day, would you have any recommendations on like when or what I'm eating?
Well, making sure that you're getting enough protein in is really important, because that's going to help fuel you. That's going to help, keep you feeling full. But also making sure that you've got a balance of carbs and fat, whatever, I think that
when you say fat, what do you mean?
I mean, like, I know. I mean, like cheese, like a little bit of cheese or olive oil, or fatty meats like bacon. I mean, I know that I'm going to get a lot of people might have feelings about that, but
she is nationally certified. She said bacon. Y'all heard it here. And I know a lot of my folks like avocado,
coconut oil, healthy fats. So fat is not bad. Fat helps you need fat. Your body can make its own carbs, but like you need fat. It is essential. All of the vitamins are there. But in terms of when you eat and how much you eat, that all depends on you. So I think that, a lot of people have success with intermittent fasting when you're working long shifts, where you have your fast window during your work hours. So you eat before and then maybe eat after. But some folks that doesn't work for. And so keeping your work fridge stocked with things that are going to make you feel good during the day. I love Greek yogurt. That's one of my go-tos.
Oh, Greek yogurt.
What about ice cream? Is that a healthy food? Please say yes.
Please say.
So all food is neutral. All food is neutral. It's not good. It's not bad. I don't want to put a value judgment on it.
Yes.
So for you, if you just got done with a workout, or if you're bulking, or if just because you want to say you just want it, maybe that choice is right for you. So if it's right after a workout and you're replenishing your glycogen stores, then yeah, fucking eat the ice cream.
Right.
But but maybe if it's late at night and you're really stressed out and you're turning to it for something like comfort. Which comfort eating is a thing. I love it, but I think it all depends on the context. There's no right or wrong. I don't think that. There's a way to use it to your benefit, and there's a way to, like anything else, there's a way to do it right, and there's a way to use it to your detriment.
Absolutely. And I just gotta acknowledge Miss Angie. She says she eats at bedtime. And I feel like it's something that's so common for so many people, but especially us shift workers, because you get to the end and then you get home and that might be your first meal that you get to sit down, and it's the day is over, and I hear people all the time say don't eat after 8 and all this stuff, but sometimes it's when we finally get to a meal. So what do you have to say about that, eating before bedtime?
Ooh, I love, it doesn't matter when you eat, but it matters what you eat when you eat. Right. So if you're about to go to bed, right, you don't want to eat a whole bunch of sugar, right? Because what's going to happen to that sugar, right? You have to burn off all the carbs that you eat in a day before you start to burn anything else. And so if you're eating a bunch of carbs, which are used for energy, which are used for brain function, which are used for, you need them, you need sugar. Then what's going to happen? You're not actually doing anything with that, right? You're just going to eat the thing and then go to sleep. So if you're having a meal full of greens and protein and fat and a good healthy carb, like a sweet potato or brown rice, or that's going to fill you up, and that's actually going to help your rest. So think about your food as fuel for what you're going to do next.
That's a good thing to think about. I actually, just last night, I ate mushrooms and sweet potato for dinner, and I slept excellently.
Amazing.
I did not put those two things together. But
I hope you had a good serving of olive oil or butter or grass-fed butter.
I had some good grass-fed butter in there. I had some Himalayan pink salt in there. And I
Ah,
cooked my mushrooms and a little bit of olive oil. So yes, it was right up my keto alley.
yes, I love that for you.
Okay, so we're gonna get ready to wrap the show, but I see one more question up here. It says, with working in the OR, some days we don't have time to eat anything but crackers and peanut butter and work 8 or 12 hours. Absolutely. Oftentimes in our break areas, that's what's provided for us, especially in the peri-op area. They'll provide crackers and peanut butter. And this may be an opportunity for us as frontline workers to just lead the conversation a little bit, because health and wellness is definitely a key initiative in almost any C-suite leadership in healthcare right now. So maybe just having a conversation with your leaders about changing up the snacks that they offer and being gracious, like, thank you, we appreciate the peanut butter and the crackers. However, we want to, change this out for something a little different that we think could fuel our bodies a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, KJ, as we're getting ready to wrap, we've talked a little bit about nutrition. We talked heavily about mobility, rest, and relaxation. We talked about the difference between rest and sleep. Is there anything else that you would like to offer to the folks that are listening right now?
One of the things that I do a lot of, that is part of rest and de-stressing, is just breathing, just breath work.
Yes.
Breath work is really important because, first of all, you need it to live. And secondly, exhaling specifically activates your parasympathetic nervous system, right? Inhaling is fight or flight. Exhaling is rest and digest. So focusing on that exhale, breathing deeply, and then breathing out until you cannot breathe out anymore is going to stimulate your vagus nerve. It's going to reset your diaphragm, and it does a whole lot of things for you. And there are a lot, and you can also use it as a tool for mindfulness. So like one of the things, emotion gets trapped in our bodies, just like, our bodies have memories too. Mm-hmm. So thinking about like anxiety, for example, lives in your chest. So if you take a moment to just put your fingertips on your chest, on your collarbones, and to just breathe deep, think about breathing into them and then releasing everything that you're holding on to there. I mean, it sounds simple, but it really does work. Another thing I really love is called the box breath, BOX, which is inhaling for 4 counts, holding your breath for 4 counts, exhaling for 4 counts, and holding your breath again for 4 counts.
It's one of my favorite things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just the counting of it alone just helps me center myself.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it.
I'll try that.
Yeah.
Give it a whirl.
Yeah. I mean, like really anything that you can do in either at work or at home to make your environment less stressful will more peaceful, more whatever that looks like for you. Mm-hmm. So it could be bright lights, it could be candles, So just find
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, KJ, for coming on to the process tonight. I really appreciate it.
I so enjoyed being here. Thank you both so much for having me. This has been such a pleasure and such a dream. And it's so good to catch up with you, Alessandra. It's so good to see you.
You are very much welcome. Please come on again. I'd just like to say, give a shout out to our viewers in the comments. Thank you to Angie.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Veronica.
Hey, Veronica.
Rebecca. Thank you guys for tuning in and leaving some comments. Really appreciate the interaction.
Also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at KJ.
Yes, KJ. Where can they find you? Say that again.
It's
Instagram.
Instagram at KJ.
Okay, we're going to have to put that in the comments.
QUESTCEQUE
We're going to put it in the comments.
And
then you're on LinkedIn, yes?
I'm on LinkedIn as well as Kj Kelsch. And if you are interested, if you have more questions, you can email me or DM me. I'm also taking new clients. So if you
awesome. So if you guys are looking for a personal trainer, I will give 100% back up KJ. They are amazing. And for you guys that don't know me well, I personally lost about 50 pounds working with they. So check them out.
Thanks for that. You know, I've been talking all day about how you're like one of my favorite success stories. Like you made me level up as a coach. So eternal gratitude.
Level up. Let's go. All right, that's another one. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the process.
All right, see you guys in the next one. Thank you, KJ. Thank you, Alessandra. We'll be back next week, same channel, same time. Peace.
Thanks, y'all.